You're listening to WooSox Insider, presented by your Worcester Red Sox.
When was the last time we were all doing this together?
More than a month.
It's been like a month, right? We're bad hosts, but we were busy. Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the WooSox Insider podcast. As not always, I'm PQ. As not always, Dylan McCaffery. Always Dave Leonardi, though, the Iron Man, like Cal Ripken out here, just working into the 2,000-something consecutive hours of just podding nonstop. Thanks for tuning in and listening. And fellas, WooSox season is done. It's over.
Farewell, WooSox 22. It's in the books.
WooSox 22, we bid you adieu.
Ooh. Is that
Yeah.
the off-season motto?
I think it has to be, right?
I think at the end of this episode, we should definitely give our best pitches for 23.
Yes, we'll get to that for sure. But what a season it was. It felt long and short at the same time, as it often does working in sports for fans who think it went by in the blink of an eye because it was so much fun. We feel that too. For people who have ever had a couple of, busy weeks, months at work that feel like they dragged on, somehow we felt that as well. But we always felt that the work was appreciated. We got so much love for how much fun people had coming here, partaking in the in-game activations, watching our shows on Nessa and on TV. And what is this great overall experience? So Dave, I'm going to start with you. What are some of your takeaways from this season as a whole?
I'm going to say what I said like in the beginning of the season. Everything felt so much more put together than the 2021 season. And
you mean like the park in general? Like the screws were tightened, the bolts were in, like the ballpark was finished being built.
partly that.
The paint had dried.
Yep. But also, I don't know if it was also being home last semester for internship, but just seeing everything from January up until now, everything just felt so, everyone was like working as a unit, basically. Everyone was just an absolute unit all year long. It was great. It was an amazing thing to be a part of. And I mean, it was probably this was the end of my 5th season, and this is probably my favorite year that I was a part of this organization, easily.
Heck yeah.
That's saying something, because as someone who's still in school, and I think DCAF and I are quickly realizing that the college days are further behind us than we'd like to admit. Dave has more time for the AAA affiliate of the Boston Red Sox than either DCAF or I. You're up 1 year on us, so I'm glad to hear that WooSox 22 was the year for you.
And WooSox 23 is hopefully the year for you and me.
We're gonna keep going. Get used to it. If you're sick of puns based on years, then you might want to turn the podcast down. Don't stop listening. If you're watching, don't stop watching. Don't you do it. Just turn it down a little bit. Decaf, what are some of your takeaways?
I just love that Dave is a grizzled veteran at the ripe old age of 21. He's been through it all.
I would even go as far to say surly. Surly veteran.
Yeah, first of all, welcome to my childhood bedroom. I made this little shrine back here when I was 10 or 8 or something.
Wait, who is that? I want to see if I can.
This is the 07 team. This is like the 07
on the top left that I see.
Beckett. This is an awesome photo of him, just like as a contortionist.
Is he trying to fit himself into a suitcase that's not pictured underneath?
Yes. My guy Hideki Okajima is getting no love with this photo, but I do love the guy. Sorry. This season, it felt very long, but whenever I think back to like the Roberto the Rocket home run or something, I'm like, yeah, that was last month. Like everything from the beginning of the season doesn't feel like it was 5 months ago. but it was. This was a long endeavor. I think that what I learned is that you feel like the weight of the world's on your shoulders a lot, but you never realize that if you just like let the world go by you, like it's gonna keep spinning. Like if one of us, I like made sure I was at every game this year, like hell or high water, I got myself to the park. And looking back on it, if I had to miss one game, the earth would have kept spinning. Like baseball just would continue to be played. If for some terrible reason all the video boards went out and we were just like had only the only thing on the video board is just the score and the count, they would have kept playing. Everyone would have had a good time. And like we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to do a great job when all that was really required was the bare minimum. And we still did the absolute most. So yeah, I'll take away from this season that in the future maybe I can give myself a little bit of a break, but that's not what I did here. And I did the absolute most and I made it through the whole year. What about
And
you?
I think that kind of the tail end of what you're saying there is my biggest takeaway, where at the end of the day, we're a minor league baseball team. Yes, we're the AAA affiliate of the Boston Red Sox. We're in the same market as the Boston Red Sox, one of the greatest, not just baseball markets and fan bases, but one of the greatest markets and fan bases in all of sport around the world. And it would have been easy to say, you know what, we're a minor league team, we can only do so much. But I think the care and the passion that so many people had, and just in our like production crew, we have around 60 people on our crew. Like I won't thank them all one by one, but I want to,
We'll be here all week.
Yeah, we'd be here all week, but the amount of people that come in, and even if it's their day one, they care about putting on a great show, and they can't care about the fan experience and talking to people around the ballpark and getting to know their coworkers and season ticket members and the kids that are going to be flipping the national grid light switch in the middle of the game, trying to make sure everyone just had a great time and a bunch of magical moments, and that they even had the understanding, if you know what, sometimes it can be exhausting work. Sometimes it can feel like it doesn't really matter, but you never know who it matters to. So that's why everyone took it so seriously. That's why everyone did their best for it. They didn't do it selfishly because they wanted to come in and throw their weight around and throw elbows and shoulders and scratch and claw their way up to the top. They did it for the right reason. It was for the fans. Everything we did was for the fans. And from what we've heard, everyone enjoyed it, and that makes it all worth it. So that's my biggest takeaway, is I think it's a beautiful, beautiful thing to see, like you said, Dave, so many people just working as an absolute unit, pulling the same rope in the same direction, and Decaf, them doing their best doing it because they care so damn much about it. And growing up as a kid in this area, who my favorite days in the summer, we would save up, drive out to Boston, pay for parking, take a family of 5 out to Fenway, maybe 1-2 nights a year in the summer. What's better than that? I'll tell you, you don't have to drive out and pay $60 for parking. You can take a 10-minute Uber or Lyft, or you can pay $15 for parking 5 minutes away from where you live. Paid $8 of tickets for your kids, $9 a ticket for yourself, and come out and see so many people. I think that's why this season felt really long too. And you look at the beginning of the year and you think about like a Roberto Ramos walk-off homer, and it feels like it was just a month ago, but it also feels like a different season that it happened, because there were 75, 76 different players that played for the WooSox this year. Like we had multiple different teams basically throughout the season. and everyone was just such a treat to be around.
I do remember some off weeks coming in and seeing the starting lineup and being like, okay, I thought I was paying attention. Apparently not. This is where'd our team go?
Did Carlos Martinez pitch for the WooSox this year? Was that this year?
That sounds like
Yes, it was.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
it was.
That was this year, right?
It was like 1 or 2 games.
That was fun.
Yeah, I think he pitched on the road once and he pitched here once. Like, that's a 2-time All-Star with 9 years of big league experience.
I think
and he just threw a couple games for the WooSox.
Something funny that still speaks to what Dave was saying about what a unit this was. There was like a rain delay on Tuesday of the last homestand, and we've really tried to step things up and up and up as we've had these rain delays, because we have, at least first year, we had so gosh darn many of them. So we tried to turn Polar Park into Club Fizz and just get people going, playing some rain dance music, whatever we can come up with. And at the beginning of this season, we set the bar very high. We had like a 4-hour rain delay during, I think it was the Assumption game they played here. And we had Dave go down with the wireless camera, and Brendan Black hosted impromptu session of Polar Pong on the concourse, just like having fun with all the college kids, the fans that were there. And all year I've been like, well, that's the new standard. Like, when we have a rain delay, we have to have a completely new run of show. And I was freaking out on Tuesday, like, what are we going to do? Should we have a host? Should we play some games? It's raining. What do we do? And then someone's like, are the WooSox playing? I was like, oh yeah. Or the Red Sox playing? It's like, oh yeah, let's just put the game on the board. They'll watch the game. That's so easy.
Luckily, we had like 2 or 3 rain delays all year too.
Yeah, that was a gift from God.
Even the ones we did have, they were almost all of them. I think there was one where there was a little concern about the visitors' bullpen not being up to playing standards. But other than that, where there was a pretty lengthy argument, a lot of calls between the WooSox leadership and the league and umpires, opposing managers, our manager. But other than that one weird rain delay, all the other delays were like under an hour, maybe. They were pretty quick. So
thankfully.
Yeah. Elliot Lindstrom, the grounds crew, fantastic job as always. And I think after a year under their belt, like you were saying, Dave, it's more of a well-oiled machine. The team went from McCoy, which would flood if it started sprinkling, to now really understanding how well this drainage system works at Polar Park. And the answer is really well. It eats water.
That's a fact.
It eats water. It's crazy.
This is true more so last year than this year, and I can say this now in a safe, comfortable space. In that last year, there was some times where we had a monsoon hit the field, and it was like 9 o'clock at night, and I was like, well, it's tough. We have a doubleheader tomorrow, but at least I get to go home. And then they would take the tarp off, and the field would be dry.
Bone dry.
And I would just be sitting there like, it just was a hurricane for 2 hours, and we're about to continue the third inning at 10 o'clock at night. And I couldn't believe it, but that's what we got in Worcester for you. We did not spare any expense. This field eats water, eats it.
Speaking of this field, right now I'm currently sitting up in the control room at the ballpark, and we have a goalpost up already. We have one goalpost up right in front of the Simply Orthodontics berm in left field, and they're stripping the extra dirt on the infield as we speak.
Look at that. It's happening.
Is that the mound's already gone?
Right there. Mound's already gone. They're stripping the rest of the dirt, and a goalpost is up. So football is well underway, in my opinion, at the ballpark. So if you haven't gotten tickets for the EBW Classic, that's the Edward Bennett Williams Classic. He was a Holy Cross alum, mentor to Larry Lucchino, which is why The second annual EBW Classic is named as such. Get your tickets at polarpark.com. Last year, I know we've talked about it before with Hannah Butler, and we've just mentioned it before in past episodes, but last year, that Holy Cross football game was unreal. The place was jumping. It was a great atmosphere for football. And to be quite honest with you, I wasn't expecting, because unlike Fenway, which still feels like a stadium because it fits 37,000, I was a bit skeptical how the ballpark would feel with 9,508, and it was electric.
I was skeptical on like the length of the sidelines. Like, you have the stands on one side and the Worcester Wall on the other, and there's just so much field before you get to the field. But it didn't matter, and it doesn't matter. There's no bad seats at Polar Park, as we've established. You can see all the action from everywhere, especially if you're up on the Worcester Wall. Like, there's a good amount of field between you and the actual football field, but you already have the bird's eye view, and you're already at the 50-yard line. So it's a win-win.
Yeah, it was sick. We got some drone footage. Like, we found some drone footage, I should say.
Yeah, that was so nice of someone to send us drone footage. No one do that this year.
We found some drone footage of the game last year. That's ridiculous. So yeah, they're turning the field into a football field. Dave, what position do you think you could play realistically and
tight end
and contribute for the Holy Cross Crusaders? Tight end.
Tight end. I got hands.
For Holy Cross right now. What's your 40 time, you think?
Oh, geez. See, like I played goalie for like 11 years, so I was only fast in the short distances. I say I could get, I don't know, maybe putting up Brady numbers like a 5'3".
So you're telling me you're just running 3-yard outs as a tight end?
Oh yeah, I'm catching the ball at the 2-yard line, and I'm trucking through for the first down.
How many touchdowns do you think you'd have in I think they play a 10-game season?
10-game season? I think I could get 7.
7 tutters in 10
7
games.
in there. 7.
How many at Polar Park? At least 4.
Oh, Polar Park, I'm going crazy. That's home field advantage.
Gosh. When you're putting your helmet on, you look up at snarly balls, just like ready to go. Oh, let's go. Touchdowns.
Decaf, same question for you. Dave apparently is an all-conference tight end. What position would you be playing? Because you played some high school football. You were captain once.
I was absolutely captain once. I started on offense and defense.
You were very seriously captain. Like, you were named captain
at a very crucial time when the team was down and out and they needed a change of leadership. I was made captain as a punishment to the rest of the squad to get their act together. We won the game. I was fired as an undefeated captain. And I was playing
one of my favorite stories ever.
I was playing offense and defensive line that game. Even in high school, like I lift weights. I'm not the strongest guy. I'm not an offensive lineman. I can admit to that. And I'm not playing it for Holy Cross. I put myself at QB if my dang shoulder wasn't such a wreck. But I'll go middle linebacker or running back or both. That's where I can play.
Oh.
I want to be
two-way player.
I do with this field.
You're like Gordy Lockbaum back in the day. Legend around these parts.
You can ask Mike Schwarren about how I did on the football field at McCoy Stadium when I was catching touchdown passes from him.
That's true.
I've got what it takes. I promise.
Is that might be the last time? No, it can't be. No, because the alternate training site. Never mind. I was gonna say that's the last time sport was played at McCoy Stadium. It's the last time football was played at McCoy Stadium for sure. Was us tossing the pigskin around with Mike Schwarren.
Dave, I expect a lot of this podcast in the off season. Last year, it was a lockout. We couldn't do much. I want to hear you. I want to tune into WooSox Insider each week. I don't want to see Chad Tracy, Johan Mieses, Tristan Casas, Mike Schwarren, whoever it can be. I want the guests pouring out. I want every Throwback Thursday you've made the last year. That's your guest list for this off season of podcasts.
Producer Dave.
I'll tell you what, I would love to interview Daniel Nava if that was ever possible.
Oh yeah.
Just to
we gotta
ask him about that grand slam on his first ever at bat.
Or
in
about
Fenway.
being, I think, equipment manager at UC Santa Barbara. And Dave, you can talk about how the Endicott College baseball team won't let you score their games, even though you score every game at Polar Park each summer.
I want to get Cole Sturgeon and TQ on the podcast, just talking about the last game at McCoy.
I might have to find a pair of rec specs before we do that, though. He had such sick goggles on every game. It was electric.
That's true. I don't know if they ever do reunion teams for teams that don't win championships, but they should definitely get like a reunion team going for the Pawtucket squad. Get Rusney back in the park. Oh my gosh, just a cast of characters. Oscar Hernandez, Jansen Whitty, memory lane right there.
A bunch of great guys. Chad De La Guerra was red hot. Chris Owings, who I think is playing for the Orioles now or Rockies. Or I know he played a lot of major league time after 2019.
Rockies, I want to say.
He was like the International League Player of the Month when he was with Pawtucket in 2019, just tearing it up. That was a fun team. Anyway, back to a fun team. We got Dave at tight end, decaf, middle linebacker, running back. I think I'm smaller in stature than either of you two. So I think a lot of people would think like slot receiver, which I could do. I'd be the guy who just runs a little slant, catches the ball, and dives forward before he's even hit at all. But I think I might go corner. Play some lockdown defense.
Just a nickel corner. I can see that.
Yeah. Put me in the slot as a corner, and I'm just on your hip across the field. Doesn't matter. I'm on you.
So when I catch a pass in the middle of the field, like I look out for decaf at middle linebacker.
No, you wouldn't catch it.
Coming from the secondary.
You would no. You would run your little drag route because you have no stamina, as you said earlier. So you'd take 2 steps downfield and start just running all the way across the field. And then I'm looking at the quarterback's eyes. I see it. We're in a zone defense, little 3-4 action. I see it, Dave.
I see you as like a mini Earl Thomas, just so much anger built up. You just knock guys over.
Right. He's there's a lot of anger there. And Dave, he's looking back at his quarterback. I know the QB's looking me off because I studied the film. I've seen it for weeks. I've been ready for this game. And I knew he's going to look me off over to the right side as Dave runs across the field to his left. So he's looking off the safeties. He's looking off everybody. And then I see the head snap and I break. So I'm like, that's it. It's head snap and throw it. He's been looking at Dave out of the corner of his eye this whole time. Head snap, throw the ball. If anything, Dave, the only chance you have is if you hang on to it as you're just being hit, like folded.
Or if it's thrown more than 6 feet in the air.
I see Dave as like a Gronk where he's not coordinated enough to look smooth. He's just kind of like stumbling around, like he bounces off people when he gets hit.
It's like seeing Dave. Gronk didn't look like graceful when he played football.
Yeah,
it's just bad. Well, it was great. It was beautiful, but it was not graceful.
Last week, I unprompted spit out my favorite moment working here. That it was with Alex doing snow angels on the football or on the McCoy Stadium outfield. I think I had that moment topped in my final few days at McCoy or at Polar Park. But before I say my favorite moment of the last 4 years, I want to hear Dave, not WooSox 22, TQ, not WooSox 22. Dave, the last 5 years, TQ, the last 4 years, whatever it's been. Best moment to wrap up 33 episodes of a great podcast that will continue after I'm gone. We'll just look a little different.
Dave?
You're going to have to go first. I got to think for a sec.
No.
That's not the rules. You just said Dave.
I said Dave. Dave, I've established myself as the host of this podcast this episode. I know I missed the last couple of weeks, but I'm the one who introduced the episode. So now I'm introducing you to give your moment first.
Was it dressing as Mega Smiley? Is it
Honestly,
PA announcer Dave on Friday night?
I'd have to say my favorite day was probably the last game of this season. The last shift I worked probably was my favorite day in the past 5 years, because that was the first time both of my parents, that was the first time both of my parents came to work as fans. And I got the Yes Award down on the field, and my dad took this video, and I can hear the two of them cheering and stuff like that. And I don't know, when I was a little kid, my dad was the one that taught me to score baseball games at McCoy at the age of like 8 years old. And before the game, I got to bring him up into the control room and actually show them what I do, for a change. The only time they really saw what I did was when I was a cashier back at McCoy in like 2018, 2019. So it was kind of moments like that on that last day where it all was just kind of became full circle, and just kind of made the last 5.5 years worth it. Was those 10 minutes I was on the field for pregame with my dad and my mom watching.
I'm gonna cry. That was so sweet.
Yeah, that was so sweet. That was so sweet. That was very, very nice. I'm also decaf. I'm glad you brought it up. Dave did his normal job of scoring every game, which is like he's on from first pitch until the end of the game. For those listening, like he doesn't stop just going. And then he was also the PA announcer, because the PA mic is right next to him, and Ben DeCastro couldn't make it for some prior obligations. So on top of his already busy job, he was a PA announcer, and he was unbelievable.
It was a lot of fun. I'd do it again.
10 out of 10 would recommend. Decaf, do you want to go?
I will go. And I want to squeeze in before I say this, because I know we're running out of time. Last week, I thanked my parents for supporting me through this whole process of moving to California, and I want to thank them again because they're the best. But someone I have to thank for my entire experience at this job is my uncle, Jack Campisi. He bought me the book that I tore the pages of these posters out on the wall behind me. He bought me just about every piece of Red Sox paraphernalia in this room. He bought me every Red Sox ticket I ever got going up, took me to every game. He's the reason I love the Red Sox. He's the reason I love the Dolphins, which I can't thank him as much for. But he's the reason I love sports and television. And I got to thank you, Uncle Jack, for shooting me into this line of work. And I've been trying to make you proud the whole time. And I hope I did. I'll see you later today. Anyway, favorite moment was, and still is, my favorite moment from Pawtucket. After the last game of the season, running out of the outfield, diving out there, doing snow angels in the rain with Alex Richardson. Favorite moment this year, ironically, also came post final out of the season. I was sitting in a golf cart with Tim Quintadamo. We were like between the 10th and 11th hole or something. A John Mayer song was playing. We were talking about some issue, some problem from the season. And then one of us said something along the lines of, "It's not our problem anymore." And then we both let out a deep exhale and about a minute of silence, just looking at the course. Cars are piling up behind us. We're not teeing off. We just sat there in complete understanding, knowing what we just took on, knowing the battle and the war we just fought and won. And there was nothing that needed to be said. It was just a minute of John Mayer sitting in silence and just complete understanding and peace and serenity. And I still feel that way. It's a good feeling.
That's your favorite 4 years.
I think honestly, like it just like I felt so much in that moment. I don't know if you were just like thinking about what you're gonna have for lunch, but like I was sitting there thinking, exhaling, just like I've never let out a deeper, more meaningful exhale than that moment.
No, it was a beautiful moment. There's something to be said about a comfortable silence too, when you're in good company. That's just nice. And it was a picture perfect day. It was high 60s, slight breeze. We're up at Kettlebrook Country Club in Paxton, which was gorgeous. And it was just a good time. It was just
all right. You got 4 minutes on this ticking clock.
Yeah. So my favorite moment, I think, was Friday afternoon of the last homestand. Now, since weekday games started at 6:45 this year, for all you listeners or watchers, That meant Nesson was still going to take our games at 6:30. So we needed 15 minutes of content every Monday if we had one, the rare Monday home games, but every Tuesday through Friday, 15 minutes of content. A lot of people, would make a prepackaged something and kind of just repurpose it throughout the year. Not us, like Decaf said. We had original content every single home game. We weren't recycling anything. We would have a tease every now and then to an interview, but new content every single pregame. And a lot of times it was Cooper and myself going over what happened on the last road trip, what happened the last night, setting up the game and some of the promotions that are going on around the ballpark, community events that are being held. And sometimes it was just Cooper doing an interview with the player, a little walk and talk. Sometimes it was just me doing like an interview with Alex Spear or Manny Del Carmen or Ian Kundal, Chris Hatfield, Rob Bradford. I think that might actually be all of the interviews I did, which would be pretty cool if I remembered that. It's gonna go right to my head. But my favorite moment, the last pregame show we had, I got to sit out on the berm with Cooper, Tyler Murray, Jim Kane, Derek Willen stage directing, Decaf in my ear up in the control room directing the show. And it was all of the people that I've learned so much from as far as broadcasting, and that I got to build on these stories that were happening throughout the season, and we got to work together to tell the story of these players, these coaches, these games that were being held. And we just went over our favorite sort of broadcast moments of the year. And I got to do a real deep cut because the fans are awesome. Maybe we can splice that in here, but the fans getting on John Nagowski was awesome. It was very Worcester, just jeering this guy who played for the Rochester Red Wings that possibly no one had ever heard of before. And it was a lot of fun. It was a blast. And it was just great being with and working with all these people that helped me out so much. So that was my favorite.
That's touching. I hated those pregame shows, but I'm so glad that you liked them and the fans liked them, and that was what it was all about. So I loved them, and yeah,
there were a lot of words. But we have less than a minute, is what Zoom is telling me. I think we need to re-up our subscription, but we haven't done so yet. EBW Classic Saturday, October 8th. Tickets still available. PolarPark.com. Decaf. That is a series wrap on Dylan McCaffery. Everybody, give him a round of applause. Our lead producer. Love you, bud. Last words before it gets cut off. It might get cut off.
Part of the journey is the end.
That's WooSox Productions, baby. Don't you ever forget it.